at this stage from defeating is looking for it! Craig Halkett to win the Inter Trophy in injury time!
Hello everyone, welcome back to Hearts and Sleeves podcast. It is a podcast all about Heart of Midlothian Football Club, its fans and the ups and downs experience on the way. Joining me again this week are Adam and John. Adam, how are you and how was your weekend?
Yeah, I had a good weekend, just doing fringe shows, and the Hearts game was obviously a great part of the weekend as well. I feel like we're going to be entertained a lot this year, so really happy to see us win so easily. Well, in the end.
What did you go and see at the Fringe? Anything you'd recommend?
I went and saw Daniel Sloss and Phil Wang, doing comedy stuff. And then I'm going to see Connor Burns at the weekend. I think John's going as well now. Got a free ticket. I don't know some of the guys. I don't know their stuff that well, but I'm just trying to see a lot of stand-up stuff, basically.
Daniel Sauce is always really good, isn't he?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, the support was absolutely horrific. I almost walked out of the support. I hated it. Apparently, a guy from Edinburgh, but I've been to a bunch. I always hate the support. They're just there to support, so it's hard to really criticize too much. But yeah, wasn't my cup of tea. But I liked Sloss.
I remember one time during the festival, and this must have been going back 10 years, I went to see a stand up and he was fucking terrible. Now, I mean, I've never seen an audience it wasn't even like groans or anything like that. It was just silent. So you had really nothing to work with. And the worst part was is this gimmick thing, right? Where it's taking place on the top level of a double decker bus. So if you want to walk out, you kind of have to go right past him, and he's kind of standing at the top of the stairs. And so no one was obviously leaving. We're all just sitting there, and just he was kept on saying, I think what made it worse was he noted the fact that it was a totally dead audience. You'd think the best thing to do is just carry on, because he kept on pointing about how bad an audience it was and how bad a reception he's getting, which made it all the more awkward. And he'd kept on saying stuff like, "All right, guys, we're gonna have a good time. Just stick with it," and all this kind of stuff. And then when eventually people just had to go because it was just a waste of time, and they were just like, "Oh, sorry, mate, just going to get a drink." And of course, they never came back with their drinks. And then after the show, it was like a free fringe thing, so he kind of held out his hat at the end. And he didn't even make eye contact with anyone. He just had his head looking at the ground, holding his hat. And later on, I saw him with his head in his hands at the bar. It was.
God.
But here's the thing, plot twist. I always keep an eye out for him. And I think he's been at every Fringe festival ever since. So it clearly didn't put him off. So good for him. I won't name names because I feel this is actually it was a really, I've never seen a comedian die in their arse quite like that. So that was an experience.
The report I saw got a good reception, to be honest.
Right.
I wasn't that bothered about it. But Sloss was good, and hopefully Connor Burns will be good as well.
What about yourself, John? What did you get up to?
I did some overtime over the weekend, so I kind of just had a quiet one, to be honest. I think Friday night, my girlfriend was at a show, so I can't even think what I did. I think I literally just sat in front of the TV and did absolutely nothing. To be honest, nice and peaceful one.
Sounds good to me, quite honestly.
Yeah, what did I do Saturday? Oh yeah, she was feeling a bit worse for wear after the Friday night, so I poured myself a pint and had a pizza, and again just put my feet up and I watched the first two episodes of that Jose Mourinho documentary on Netflix.
Oh yeah, quite fancy that.
Yeah, it's really good actually. Just got the last episode to go, so next time she's busy, I'll watch that. But yeah, had a good weekend. How about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, so obviously my big thing, I suppose, was going to the game itself, and obviously going to the game a bit later on, but the train was fucking heaving. Like those, in those documentaries or whatever you see of the Japanese commuter trains where people are just being squished on like sardines. That was literally what it was like. So it's the train from, it's on the Glasgow to Edinburgh line. And it's one of those ones I got on it with, and I had my two children, 5 and 8. And instantly I was like, oh fuck, I shouldn't even come on this. Because, as soon as the doors closed, River, my daughter, this is our first Hearts game that I took her to. I'll tell you again more about that a bit later on. But she started properly crying, just like, I need somewhere to sit, I need somewhere to sit. And it was just horrible, And you'd think maybe someone would say, it's okay, right, I'll give you my seat. But nope, no one did. So I just had to kind of try and do my best to kind of make a wee sort of space where I was like, look, you've got all this space to yourself. And then I gave her sort of a high hug, but then there was literally, I couldn't even hold on to anything. It was that jam packed. Eventually I got her to sit on my bag, like on the ground, and that kind of gave her a sense. And Robin, he seemed, I mean, he wasn't loving it, but at least he was sort of calm. But yeah, that kind of gave her a bit of space to feel like she had her own area. I was hating it as well, but you're sort of more focused on your children. So that was absolutely hellish. And cheers to all those kind people who offered my daughter their seat not. So yes, that was that. Thankfully, the journey on the way back was far more relaxing.
I was sorry to hear that, but it's good that she got to go to her first game. It was
Indeed.
hopefully she doesn't think there's that many goals every week, but maybe this season actually. In fairness,
You never know. You never know. It's funny because after the first half, she did sort of mention, I'm bored. And boy, was she not bored in that second half. But before we go on to that, I said that I'd do something incredibly controversial on this podcast to you guys. And I'm starting with a quiz. Yeah, I know. I hope you were seated to hear that bit of news. So, since 2000, there has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games out with yesterday's game where we have scored 6 goals or more. Now, I'm going to run through them all, and what I need you to do is tell me the scorers in these games, who scored a goal. So you might want to write these down as I go along. So in 2001, we beat Dunfermline Athletic 7-1. Next one came 14 years later. It was in the Scottish Championship against Cowdenbeath 10-0. Then October 2020, beat Dundee 6-2. December 2020, beat Queen of the South 6-1. April 2021, we beat Alloa Athletic 6-0. Then more recently, 2023, back in the Premiership, Ross County 6-1. And then February 2025, beat Dundee 6-0. Now, as you can imagine, there's overlaps and people who've scored more than one goal as well. But I'm just looking for a name, and once you say the name, it's sort of crossed off for all the other games. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Fine.
yes.
And just underline the fact it's excluding yesterday's game, so no scorers in that. Adam, you can go first.
I'm gonna start with Stefan Adam, who I think maybe scored a hat trick in the 7-1 game.
So, yeah, you're correct with that, but it was just 2 goals, just in inverted commas.
I remember that game well because it had been snowing and we came back and my dad's car had been towed away. That's my thing. That we came out delighted about the 7-1. I think as well Stefan Adam had he'd been injured for a while and he came, and that was a really big thing that he scored in that game. But yeah, we had to we had to get the bus home, so that's my main memory of that day.
From the highs of 7-1 to lows of your car being picked up and taken away. What about yourself, John?
I'll give you someone who did score a hat trick. Gennaro
Okay.
Seafood.
Correct. Well done. And that was, of course, in the 10-0 against Cowdenbeath. Okay, back to you, Adam. I should also say lives. I'll give you both 2 lives, so you can get 2 wrong. Adam,
Lawrence
on you go.
Shankland.
Correct. Now, Lawrence Shankland scored in 2 of the games. He scored a hat-trick against Ross County in 2023, and then he scored in that 6-0 game against Dundee in 2025. Okay, John?
I've got a feeling in the 2025 game, Vargas might have scored, or 20, was it Vargas? Someone scored it. I'll say Vargas.
Yep, you're right. He scored right at the end for that one. Adam, were you at that game?
I watched it with me, I think.
Which one? Sorry.
The Dundee game?
No, I watched that with some. I watched that. I
was with
didn't watch
me.
it with John.
Wasn't it?
No, actually, sorry. Yes, I was thinking of for some bizarre reason, I was thinking of another Dundee game where we lost because some guys in the pub started shouting at me. Yeah, sorry. I would have watched it. I must have watched it with John. He's got a better memory than me for all of this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Phoebe was there as well. And then it was, I think we were in the pink kit in that game, if I remember right.
Where did we watch it?
We watched it at my mum's.
Oh, okay.
And I think the stream kept like crashing for the first like 10 minutes of the game.
I remember bizarrely. I remember that part.
I remember messaging you at the time, Adam, being like, fucking yes, this is it. Critchley's turned around. It's only going to be smooth sailing from here. And that was the high and the start of the low for Critchley. It didn't get any better. In fact, it got a hell of a lot worse. I think it's back to you, Adam.
I don't know what game, but I'm gonna take a guess at Liam Boyce.
Correct, yeah. So he turns up a couple of times on this as well. Forget just actually what a goal machine he was in that championship season. So for the Dundee game where he beat them 6-2, he scored 1. Then in the Queen of the South game, he scored 2. And then in the Alloa Athletic one where he beat them 6-0, he scored a hat-trick. So yeah, he's the one who appears most in this one. Back to yourself, John.
Don't know whether to go a bit more risky or play it safe. I'm just going to go risky. Did Kabangu score in the Dundee 6-0 one?
You're correct. Yep, he scored in that one. In fact, he scored twice in that one.
Goal machine.
Believe it or not. Okay. All right. Adam.
That's funny because I was gonna say Kabangu. I actually remember him scoring.
Wait, are you saying you remember Kabangu score but not watching the game with me?
Let's not get into that. No, I do. I remember. I don't remember where I was, but I remember him scoring. Jamie Walker.
Yep. So he also turns up 3 times. However,
Wow.
it's just a single goal in each of them. So he scored in the Cowdenbeath one, and he scored in the Queen of the South game and the Alloa Athletic one as well. John.
Osman So?
Osman scored, yep, twice in the Cowdenbeath game.
Right.
Both doing really well here.
I'm gonna go back to the 7-1 game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stefan Adam was the one I remember scoring. What was the year again?
That was 2001, right at the start of 2001, February.
Kirk.
You're right. Kirk scored a double as well in that game.
Great. He scored a lot at that point. He was very good, actually.
He was good at that time. Okay, John, what about yourself? Still a few to go.
No, I'm trying to think of people who just would have probably scored at certain times. Ginelli.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, if you think back to 2023, you think about who tend to score goals, particularly towards the end of that year. And Ginelli was indeed one of them. So he scored 2 goals in the 6-1 rout of Ross County. These Highlanders love having 6 put past them, don't they? Right, there's still one goal scorer in that 2023 one. Adam, do you want to take a punt in it, or do you want to go back to another one?
I'm just gonna say a name and not specify a match.
Fine.
I'm not good enough to remember the matches apart from ones from 25 years ago. Oh my god.
I'll give you a general clue, right? Think of strikers we had in the championship season.
John said so, right?
He did. The 2020 championship season.
Oh god,
Therefore,
yeah,
clarify.
yeah.
I'll also take this moment to say Ginelli also scored in the 2020 beating of Queen of the South. Forgot to add that earlier. John, do you want to steal?
Oh wait, I'll say someone.
I've got
So
a
we've
few
got
to be fair.
I know, I'm just abysmal at these quizzes. Let me just think of anyone who might have scored at any point in the last few years. Callum Patterson. I know it's going way back.
No, it wasn't. No, sadly not. I enjoyed the amount of thought just come up with the wrong one there. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But no, wrong, unfortunately. What were you going to say, John?
I think I've got 2 from the 10-0 and 2 from the 6-2. But
Right, well,
the
what I'll
6-2
take.
one more clear in my head. So I'll
Okay.
stick.
So, yep, go for it.
Stephen Kingsley.
Kingsley, correct.
Free,
Scored twice in that one.
yeah, he scored a free kick, I think, if I remember
Shit,
right.
I've also noticed, right? I've obviously put a lot of thought into this quiz because I've also noticed Ginelli scored in that one as well. So, fair enough, but yes. Okay. Adam, you're entitled to come back in if you so wish.
Did John say Vargas?
He did say Vargas, yeah, but I'll give you a clue that there's 2 more scorers within that game, one of which still currently plays regularly for this current team.
So that was. There can't be many people left from what 2025 was that?
Yep.
Spittle.
Yep. Okay, John, do you want to come out with another one?
Yeah, is there one left for the 6-2? Is there 2?
Correct. So, for the 6-2 one, there's actually 2 remaining in that one.
The only one I can think of is Halliday.
Correct. Yep, well done.
There's another one.
Yeah. There is another one, and he a long time servant, never truly been replaced.
Oh, okay.
Michael Smith.
Well done. Yeah. Back to you, John. Do you want to still guess any more?
Yeah, I've got one that I think is from the 10-0 game, and there's another one in the
Okay.
10-0 but I'm not so confident about.
Mhm.
I've got a vague memory of Gomez doing like a Panenka penalty.
Well done. That's correct.
I don't know if he scored any other goals for us apart from that.
I mean, what one to leave it on, though, right? You know, if you're going to score one. Adam, back to you.
So how many goals do we have left from each game? Sorry,
So let me
or how
just
many
see.
scorers, not goals. Sorry.
Scorers, there's one. So from 2001, there's still 2 scorers there. One very famous, one not so famous. In the 10-0, you've still got 3 scorers left to go. all of which are very familiar names, I'd have to say. Dundee 6-2 is all done. Scottish Championship, Queen of the South game, that's a 6-1. You've still got two more there. One, I'm surprised you've not got them yet, I would say. And the 6-0 against Alloa, there's two there, including a striker. No longer with us, but was with us for a kind of surprising long time. Ross County 6-1, there is another one player. And finally, in the Dundee game, there is one player who never really hit the ground running for us, and you'd see him in fits and starts. You would see him in. He was technically a forward, but didn't score a huge amount of goals for us. So that's your clues.
I'm gonna say something. Wait, so the firm one you said is a famous one.
Did I say Dunfermline? Oh yeah, that was the 7-1. Yeah, very famous. One of our most famous players of recent times, I would say.
Cup winner.
Yep, would have been.
Scorer in the cup.
Yep,
All right, Colin Cameron.
correct.
That's
Scored
the way I'm gonna get
2.
these answers. Just I'm gonna ask you the question, Jamie.
I'll tell you what, just to move things on a wee bit, I'll tell you other scorer from that game is Robert Tomaszek.
Oh
Was the
yeah,
other
I like him
scorer.
actually. Never gonna get it though, no chance.
Yeah. I'll probably just try and wrap things up here, unless you've got a guess you want to make.
Yep, I've got one.
John. All right, fine, go for it.
Sam Nicholson.
Correct. He scored in the 10-0. That means there's still two scorers from that, and again, two very famous names.
So give us a hint.
Yep, one of them scored an absolute screamer in the Edinburgh Derby.
Ozturk.
Correct. Let's see. What could I give you for the other one? He played with us from 2013 to 2015. Previously played for Liverpool, albeit very briefly.
Oh, Danny Wilson.
Well done. So that leaves. So there's the 6-1 game against Queen of the South. Like I say, very big name striker for us. I'd say like a flagship signing for us. Like a proper statement of intent signing. One of these signings that we made, I was like, fucking hell, how do we get him?
What year was that one again? The championship.
2020. Yeah.
Like Naismith or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Naismith,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, God. It's hard because you don't even think of him as a player anymore.
I know. And the other one, he was, so again from this game, he was a player I still associate more with Motherwell, quite honestly. And he played only 8 games for us here. English, played as a winger.
Oh, he was absolutely rubbish. It's Freer.
Well done.
Elliot Freer, right?
Yeah.
Never would have got that in a million years. I can't even remember what he looked like, to be honest.
Next game, Alloa Athletic. So, striker there was, like I say, he was one of those guys. I remember seeing him in the championship. I thought, because he's still quite young at the time, I thought, man, he could be the next Robbo. He was not the next Robbo. He was just kind of loaned out for most of his Hearts life. To me, in my head, he's still like a Hearts youth player. But, yeah, never quite hit it. Yeah, he did okay during that championship season, but he was never quite at the level we needed him to be. Any guesses?
It's not Ewan Henderson.
It is a Ewan Henderson, yeah.
Don't you know him, John?
Yeah, he's one of Ollie's pals.
All right. I thought so.
And the other one was a midfielder that I think people kind of. He went to Australia, and people are kind of. We never saw enough of him, I don't think, to make a full judgment on him. But I think some people were a bit gutted he left. I felt he
Was he
could have
Australian?
offered more. He's from Northern Ireland and had one season with us, scored 3 goals, went to Australia, now plays at Glentoran.
I can't think of anyone from that time.
I can't think of anyone
lost.
ever.
You've said enough is McAnuff. So it's Aaron McAnuff.
Oh God, yeah. I would never. He's quite a
Do you know-
forgettable player, don't you think?
Yeah, he was, but at the time, I remember people feeling that way, and I do think he showed glimpses of what he could be. But yeah, okay. So the next game, Ross County 6-1, 2023. Think of one of the standout players aside from Janelle and Shankland. Moved to Birmingham,
Cochrane.
correct, and then finally, like I say, there was a forward who never really. Sorry, it's 2025, so it's just he was a forward who never really got things going for us. He's done all right since he has left us. So he moved to Portuguese second division
Musa.
and Musa, correct. So he felt. I think he actually came in before Jamestown, wasn't he? But he was like the most Jamestown of signings that wasn't
Yeah, he was
Jamestown.
before. We saw him again. We saw him at like Parkhead, remember? And I actually thought he
Yeah,
was decent that day.
I think he did have something about him. I just don't think we had the right people in to get the most out of him, quite honestly.
Yeah, he was one of these young, sort of slightly erratic kind of players, but had some ability.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, that concludes it. I didn't even take scores. So well done on battling your way through.
John wins.
Right, on to the game itself. So we'll reflect on both games because since we last recorded, of course, you had that 1-1 against Benfica and then 6-2 against Inverness Caley Thistle. We'll go through the lineup first of all. We did have a bit of debate last time as to what our lineup would look like and how we'd try and set up for both the games. We thought there'd be some consistency. Well, I suggested we might go for some consistency, and I suppose there was a bit. I think the Inverness Caledonian Thistle game was a team that you're less likely to see more often going ahead, put it that way. And I think we probably had the stronger team up against Benfica. Do you think that's a fair comment to make?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, you kind of expected Inverness one to be a bit more rotation or slightly different players than normal. But I think that's understandable.
So there were 5 changes from the Benfica game. We lined up against Caley Thistle like so. In goals, no change there. You had Roos again, but we had a back 4 of Borchgrevink. Finlay came back in, McCart, and then Miller. Borchgrevink was, I guess, a bit of a surprise. It's good to see him get some minutes, and I thought he gave actually a pretty decent account of himself, and great to see him get on the score sheet. Then Magnuson came in for his first start of the season. I didn't actually realise how little he'd been played. I didn't appreciate how little he'd been played. Renault back in the game. Then you had Kerjota starting. Guendou's Mato was an interesting starting player as well, and Basai. So, thoughts on that lineup when you saw it come through, Adam?
I felt quite positive. I think it was really sensible to rotate the team a little bit. I was very happy to see Mato start. You know, he's barely played any minutes for us, so I think that was really good to see him start. Happy to see Borch come back in, give him a shot, and Magnuson as well. Definitely happy to see Magnuson and Kerjota. So basically half the team. But no, I would say they're the ones that probably stood out for me. Nice to see them either continuing to start or getting a rare start.
What about yourself, John?
Yeah, I agree with Adam. I think it was also nice to see like sensible changes. You know, not changing the full team just because it's lower opposition, and also not overplaying people or having like kind of making a style of refusing to try the fringe players or players who haven't been playing so much. But yeah, I was quite happy with it. It was a pretty solid lineup.
And
What do you think?
I think we've seen too many games where, in the past, I feel like where we've changed way too many players and gone out of the League Cup early doors. So I think it was strong enough for Inverness, which was important. I think, like John said, it was really sensible.
Yeah, my feelings on that were, looking at lineup, I thought, well, that's clearly not our strongest team, but it should be strong enough to quite easily take care of Inverness. However, it didn't start off too well. we conceded in the early goal, albeit it was ruled off. We looked pretty shaky even before it went in, and I think maybe in hindsight, it's one of those things you can look at and think, actually, maybe that's exactly what we needed, was to concede that early goal that wasn't allowed, or have a big moment where Hearts get a scare and hopefully kick them into action. And I guess to an extent it did. We got that opening goal in the 16th minute. It was quite an unlikely scorer. I have to say, before it, I thought Basai had got us a penalty. I was up in section P with my daughter and my dad, so we got a pretty good view of it. I've not seen replays, I have to say, but I've not heard too many people complain about it, and it seems like it was the right decision to rescind the penalty claim. Is that what you guys feel as well?
It's quite a difficult one because it did look very close, but I feel like it's quite hard to see from the replays. But they're not the clearest images. But I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, does it? At least ended on a goal. That's the most important thing. And it was good work from him to get into that position anyway.
Yeah. We're going to mention him, so let's just do it now. Bassey, he's the one that's been talked about most yet again. I'll put it out to both of you. What do you think of his performance then?
I'd probably say it left me with more questions than answers about what sort of player he is. I mean, he had some good moments, like good touches, a couple of good dribbles, but I'm not sure what position he's actually suited to, or where he sees himself playing, and where the manager sees him playing.
The only thing I would say, like I did last week, I think, is like, he's not played too many games yet. The signs are not great at the moment, but I still think it's too early to write him off. I think the fact that the way Rankin's speaking about him sounds like there's things he's unhappy with in terms of, the way he's approaching things. So you got to hope that he can turn it around, because I think you can see nice touches, you can see elements of a good player, but something is not quite working at the moment. And I think him coming off at half time obviously shows what Rankin is thinking at the moment.
I feel like it's slightly worrying that I know he's obviously not been well, maybe getting up to speed, but it's a bit worrying how he didn't really seem that interested. Whereas if you think, if you're a goal scorer, you're a striker, you want to be in amongst the goals. For like most strikers, that'd be like a dream game. You're playing against lower league opposition. You should be better than them. You should have plenty of chances to score. I don't know. It did seem a little bit off, and I hope it is just the fitness wise. But yeah, even I think it was a Benfica game. He was giving it back to the bench a little bit. So hopefully, there's not like an attitude problem there.
Yeah, like I saw a lot of people just criticising performance. I do think there were moments within that game where we saw what he can provide. Like winning that penalty, there's also a moment beforehand where he's able to shrug off a couple of players and get a ball into the box as well. That's exactly what you want to see from him. But as you say, that full game application just isn't there, and you can see or feel that the crowd are getting on his back. There's just something not quite adding up for me, right? So we always hear, I mean, one thing you could say about McInnes is one thing he wants above all else is application, attitude. He's more interested in that than ability, you'd probably say, right? He was desperate to get him in for January, and we heard him himself say, McInnes, that he met with people before signing them, and if he just didn't have the right attitude, he'd have no interest, and he actually rejected players because of that. There was also chat of his previous club, their ultras, saying, again, this is second-hand information, so I don't know how much truth is in this. Again, they questioned his application, but how would McInnes be so keen to sign him if that was the case? And if he was still not applying himself, how has he managed to get his way into a starting position? Yeah, he could maybe point to a lack of options here, but still, he doesn't need to be played. There are other people there that can go in ahead of him.
Yeah, it's
So
a
yeah,
good point. Definitely. It's hard to judge a player off without really knowing them. So I wonder if he's, if he's obviously rated quite highly on the analytics, and McInnes said I want like a big, powerful forward.
mhm,
Maybe I suppose McInnes isn't really going to know until he's there, but he also might have been the sort of guy who could have maybe got the best out of someone like that. Maybe the kick
mhm.
up the arse he needed. But yeah, it's interesting anyway. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I do appreciate what I said was kind of echoing what you're saying, John. Just it's something that leaves more questions than answers. I'm not putting it out here to really get answers. Even it's just things just don't really add up. I don't really get it. I'm confused by his situation as much as I am by his performances. As we said last week, though, like to me, he's still got time to prove himself. I'm certainly not writing him off yet. I've seen glimpses of what he can do, and again, he does get, in my mind, that bit of extra leeway because he has been unwell and he's still adjusting to the game. Not everyone can hit the ground running, especially folks who've come in and become very unwell due to circumstances out with their control. So I do think he's one we should stick with, but at the same time, with big games coming up, how many chances can we afford to give him? And of course, has been noted that we're in the market for a new striker, and that's something we will cover after we talk about this game. So, as I said, Borchgrevink got us up and running, and it stayed 1-0. I have to say, really nice looping header to get the goal. Your friend chatted to him after the game, didn't he, John?
Yeah, saw him out at the festival, I think, afterwards. But yeah, sounds like Rankin wasn't too happy with the first hour of the game.
Which, by the way, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, before we go on to the second half, enough. Look, that's where all the action happens. Is there anything else people want to say about that first half? Thought as much. Right. So second half. Yeah, but so as I said, my daughter is her first Hearts game, and she was enjoying it, and then she's very. It's fair to say she had ants in her pants, so she got very excited at points. But throughout the first half, she kind of grew a bit distant to the game, a wee bit bored, and was a bit distracted by other things. So at half time, I got her a bag of squashies and a hot chocolate to give her a sugar hit before the second half. And boy, was she quite excitable and quite emotional, I would also say, in that second half. Um, Thankfully, Grandpa was on hand as well to witness her first game and also to help calm her down. So, Grandpa, if you're listening, thank you for all your support of River and of Hearts. Just the one change, and it was Bassey coming off. Basai, I should say, sorry. Basai coming off and Wilson coming on, which I was really happy with. Just great to see him get some minutes. We started off that second half a bit we didn't quite come out the traps. And when Inverness scored in the 54th minute, the goal itself just looked really quite preventable. And yeah, your thoughts on that, Adam?
It was a very strange goal. I mean, I was watching back the highlights, and it looks like it was Calvin Miller's guy. You know, the guy he was marking,
It was, yeah.
and he just stops. Like, I don't quite know what he was doing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Calvin Miller. He's obviously playing out of position, but really quite a poor goal to concede. That there's so much space for the Inverness guy. But I'm not quite sure what Miller was going for there.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on what I think the key issue is there, Adam. I think he's just not. That's not his
Yeah.
position, and he completely lost his guy. I don't think I did see some criticism over Finlay, but no, he was to blame for the second goal that we gave away, and it was just a throwback to earlier on in the season when we just gave away 2 goals in quick succession. I just thought, fucking hell, here we go again, and
That's
again,
a
a
worrying
really.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it was just such a cheap one to give away. Finlay needed to do better here. And I think what added to frustration, certainly around the crowd, through the crowd and everything, was it came from one of our attacks. And it was people just not willing to take the shot on, which is fine if there's an end product. But for them to then score straight away afterwards, it really added to frustration all around the stadium. Thoughts, John?
I'd say there's kind of two parts to it from my point of view. Um, First, I think you'll see that with the style, with conceding goals quite quick after each other, because there is that sort of element of not wanting to change. Like it's got to be the same way. I think I said it to you, Adam, at the game at the time that if that's any other manager or team, they probably change slightly just for sit a bit more deep, just for like a minute or two at least get settled. Whereas we're not going to do that. It's going to be all guns blazing for the whole time, I think. And the second part again, it's kind of links in with it, but you notice that Miller and Borshkovink as the wing backs are going to continue to go forward and stay high. There's quite a few times where Borshkovink was the highest player in the team at points, and I think that's obviously again, if we do lose the ball on the edge of the box, you're looking going okay, so it's basically maybe one midfielder and then two centre backs at the back instantly on the counter. But if we're going to score that many goals, then you can get away with that at points. I just hope it's not something that if it's a bigger game, we end up crumbling because the other team gets the momentum.
See, when their second one went in, my daughter was just completely inconsolable because she was properly into game at this point. She was absolutely greeting, and I was very grateful for when Mato equalised, brought the game level just 3 minutes later. Throughout those 3 minutes, I was telling River, "It's okay. Don't worry. We'll have the last laugh. Don't worry. We'll score and everything will be fine again." Yeah, I mean, I still did feel that would happen, but I was really hoping it'd come sooner rather than later. And she was back to being happy again. And it was Kerjota who's the one creating the goal for that one. Kerjota, one man of a match, and I think we're all pretty much in agreement here that is a well-earned accolade. That
I'm gonna keep saying this, but why McInnes wasn't giving Kerjota a chance, despite him having several good sub appearances last season, is just an absolute mystery. And you see him come in, against Inverness, and I think he showed his quality. It's one of the mysteries of last season. The very, very limited minutes that Kerjota got, despite all the assists that he got and despite all the promise he showed. I think that's one McInnes got very wrong, and it cost us some points, I would say, last season potentially. So I'm delighted to see him playing. I think he's going to have some competition, obviously, with like Miller, McPake, and everyone. But I think he showed his quality Also delighted for Mato, because I think people would kind of... Obviously, we don't know how good Mato is at the moment, but he barely played last season, so it's really nice to have him as an option, even as a backup or a sub, because I think he'd kind of become the forgotten man a little bit. And I think it was a very good header from Mato as well.
Yeah, I'm going to echo on both those points, to be honest. But I'm like yourself. I was really glad to see Mato, and he had a pretty solid game, I have to say. Is he a starter yet? No, I don't think he is, but he's certainly shown what he can provide. You know, we talk about McPake, how he's really managed to grab the opportunity when he's come on. I think Mato's shown a really good example of what he can still provide for this team. Kerjota is just unbelievable. Just looking back in his performance, yes, he didn't have the best of games against Aberdeen. That's fair enough, but I mean, just look at the performances he's put in lately. Was he? I mean, you could argue this all day because we just don't know the full facts of why he didn't get as many minutes under. Because in fact, I mean, think about it now. He's had what, about 160 minutes under Rankin, and I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, I think he got around 240 minutes under McInnes, so he's almost already got as many under Rankin as he has under McInnes. It's unbelievable. And was he at the level he is now under McInnes? We just don't know, do we?
Well, I mean, I'd argue he was at us for the whole season, and when he did come on, he had several very good sub appearances. So personally, I'd argue, like, at the time as well, we were saying, why is he not starting? So it's not even with the benefit of hindsight. We can't say for certain how he would have done if he'd played, but I think there's a lot of evidence that he would have done well if he'd got a chance last season. Like, I don't think he was someone that needed a year to get up to speed. I think McInnes just didn't rate him, or only he rated him as an impact sub. But even then, he'd often come on with about 5 minutes to go. So for me, that's one McInnes got wrong, and I think there's decent evidence of that, because whether or not he turns out to be brilliant this season, he showed what he could do last season. And then you've got, I don't want to trigger John, but when you've got Alan Forrest coming on, you know, when you've got him coming on ahead of Kerjota, for example, in the last game of the season, that's just a mystery, a real mystery, how he got so few minutes. And like I said, he'd come on for... He's lucky if he got 20 minutes even as a sub in some games. I'm going to be mentioning this all the time, by the way, the Kerjota thing, every time he does come up. Because, if you look, honestly, last season, how many people were saying Kerjota should play? It's not like it's a new thing. He came on in that derby against Hibs, and I thought he was excellent. The 2-1 derby at Easter Road.
Mm-hmm.
He just showed what he could do. He showed that he had a great cross. And it's actually quite annoying, to be honest. It's quite like... It's one of the things that's annoying me most about McInnes at the moment is Kerjota.
I suppose the other argument you could make, Adam, is that maybe he's a player who fits more into the style of play that Rankin's trying to make over McInnes. They've got two very different, distinct styles of play between, how they set their teams up. So maybe Hugh is more of a player that could provide an impact under the way that McInnes had his team.
If you're chasing a goal, though, you're not going to pick Alan Forrest to be the man to change the game, surely.
Correct.
Even
Yeah,
if you're McInnes, it can't be.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean, I guess I'm trying to play it, not exactly devil's advocate. I'm just trying to sort of see all points of view. But when you put something like that into mix, it kind of really demolishes any kind of point I can try and provide or other kind of arguments. But hey, thank fuck we've got a manager who knows how to use players like Kerjota. Whilst he technically, I believe, was only registered as having one assist in this game, you could point to about 4 occasions where he was considered provider. One of those was in the 82nd minute, which is when the game really turned on its head, and he provided a penalty, a stonemaller. I think we could see it all the way from section P. That seemed like a stonemaller, and even up till it took us. I can't believe it actually took us into the 82nd minute to get it, because right up until then, there was 3 substitutions made, and that was really when you felt the tide was turning. We brought in players you'd probably consider ones that are knocking, if they're not already starters, they're knocking on the door to be starters every week. So he brought in the 59th minute, right after he scored that goal, McPake, Braga and Spittle, and they were just causing all kinds of problems for Inverness, Caley Thistle. And of course, Caley Thistle at this point were really, they had to do something to try and get back into the game. And this really, I feel, played into our own hands. The 82nd minute was that we got the penalty, and what a fucking screamer of a penalty that was as well. That was an unbelievable penalty. That's probably one of the best ones I've seen at Tynecastle in quite some time.
I think he's going to be a great player for us, Calvin Miller, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the confidence with that penalty was just there's something about Miller. I mean, it was an absolutely amazing penalty. Just smashed it in the top corner.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a real star in this team. I just really like the guy already. You know, that kind of something about him. I think he's gonna be brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of players to get excited about. You've got him, of course. You've mentioned Renault previously. He's just a guy who does stuff in the engine room. And you've got exciting players like him and Kerjota and McPake as well. He's just, again, a confident guy who'll just drive forward. You'll see people try and like whack lumps out of him, but he'll still keep going. I love players like that. However, a player we've always really liked, and he's just not really had a chance to shine, is Wilson. And he got the 4th goal, and it was maybe the most James Wilson goal I've ever seen. The ball just kind of coming up, and who was there on the goal line? Wilson to nod at him. And then it was 2 more goals right after that. Well, not quite after that, but as we went into the dying minutes, Braga with an absolutely unbelievable finish. And he's just a player that there's yet more and more rumours that he's going to go. I do think it would be great if we could get a healthy fee for him, but we're just going to really miss him. Like the energy he brought when he came on, the finishing that he's still capable of. Yes, I know he's a wee bit off the boil at times at the start of the season, maybe at parts from the end of last season, but I think you just need players like that. People just charge everything, put the opposition under pressure, and you just see the rest of our team get energy from his performance. What a finish it was. And of course, we're not forgetting the fact that we also had a goal ruled out for offside. But Miller did get decisive 6th goal. Not decisive. I think the game was pretty much decided previously. Did get the final concluding goal. That's perhaps more accurate. In the 94th minute, the final minute of injury time, McPake played onto him, and it was just a very cool finish by Miller. Okay, then. So, any other players who want to talk about, any moments of the game we want to talk about at all, or do you want to talk a wee bit more about the goals themselves?
I mean, I liked
Maybe-
Miller's last goal. Sorry, John, because he could have passed it and it was a tap in, and an open goal basically, and just the confidence to go and score there. Thought that was excellent.
Yeah, I was going to actually say similar about Miller's goal, but I was going to say the fact that he's actually got up the pitch at that point in the game. You know, it's game over, 5-2, like a minute left, and
Yeah,
he still made that run the whole way up the pitch. You know, desperate to score the goal, and obviously linking it back to what I was saying about Bassey. Not to like take a dig at him, but if you see the difference in, you know, the passion and the drive to actually want to get in there and score, I think it's a really good sign for Miller. The other thing I was going to say, I don't know, I mentioned it to you, Adam. I don't know if you noticed, Jamie, but when the first penalty that didn't end up being a penalty got awarded, Matto was the one that was going to take it, even though Miller's on the pitch.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
So I wonder if he's maybe seen as the best penalty taker we've got. Then Miller's obviously the main one that will take them the rest of the time.
I can't imagine he's able to strike it any better than Miller is, but that is interesting to know.
I don't know if he maybe took
on
them for his team before.
yeah.
That's-
Another point I was gonna mention was how's everyone thinking about James Wilson? Do you think he'll stay at us? Do you think we'll see him much? Because I think he's a really good option in the squad. He's only got a year left on his contract. It's hard to even know if he'll be here beyond the window at this rate. But I think he'd be a really useful player in the squad.
I think it'll be a case of we'd need to get him on another year at least, or like extend the deal. Otherwise, it'd be looking like from sell on value Jamestown perspective. If he doesn't sign a new deal, you have to cash in on him now. Otherwise, it's chances are he's going to go for free at the end of his contract, and I
Yeah,
can't see them want to do that.
he could well leave, couldn't he? But if he left, yeah, we'd be really struggling up front for any options. But it was positive to see him come on and score as well, though, at least.
For me, the answer to that question is quite simply who, if we get someone else in, then fair enough. If we don't get someone in, then no. I think purely from a selfish Hearts fan point of view, we need to keep him because it's all fair and well think about profits and everything, but if we're not getting many strikers in or many options in, we're just going to need players like Wilson who can come on and make an impact. I would say forget about anything to do with trying to make a profit. There's not people lining up for him. They're not lining up for him. I'd, as it stands, I would rather if we're heading into the season now with the squad as it is. I don't think it will, but if it did, I would want Wilson, even if an offer for say like 1 million came in. I know that sounds
Yeah.
a bit, but I just think we need that extra option.
Yeah, and also Spurs obviously didn't sign him. I'm not sure how many offers we can get for a guy who's not getting a game for us and has 1 year left to go on his contract either. But I think I'm with you. Braga's likely to go. We have so few proven. We've got basically no proven goal scorers other than Braga up front. So it would be a nice bonus to have Wilson at least for the next few months, I think.
I suppose as well, there's the opportunity, I guess, from Wilson's perspective, if he actually does get the game time that he was kind of promised under McInnes, that maybe, you never know, it gets to January, maybe he thinks, yeah, maybe another year or two is not a bad thing for his career. Because, I mean, Rankin's clearly given him more time than McInnes was interested in giving him.
I mean, but Wilson's a very strange case, isn't he? Because when he went out on loan last year, we could have done with him in the last few months last year. And when he went to Spurs, McInnes seemed to be raging about Wilson deciding to go, despite the fact that he almost never played him in the league. So it's been a really odd. I think by now we maybe thought Wilson would have kicked on a lot, but he's played so few times that just got to hope if you give him a little run in the team. I think he could contribute quite well if he got a few games.
Okay, so we've teased and touched upon it a wee bit, but it does look like we are about to get a new striker in. JJ Williams. John, do you know much about him at all? He's from the United States, currently playing in the MLS, I believe.
It's I think they call it the maybe USL or something. It's like their second division. I don't know if that's the right name, but it's like
Okay.
second league. I'll be honest with you, before the links, not a clue. Didn't know anything about him. but
Hmm.
I've had a little look, and I watched a couple of his goals actually, and he really looks like the sort of player that's going to attack anything that comes into the box from like an attacking perspective. There's one header I saw, and he just does like a dart and run towards the front post, and it's not like he flicks on, like he bullets header, and there's no fucking about with it. But yeah, he looks quick, looks powerful, decent strike on him as well. There's one of the goals he scored from the edge of the box. It was a good finish. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw his numbers, I was like, they're all right. Maybe not what you'd think of. You think, second division America, quality wise, it maybe doesn't look great. But I feel like he's one of those signings that it might look like an okay bit of business, but if he clicks in this sort of team, and if you've got players like Kerjota, Miller, could even say Spittle putting balls in the box, I think he's the sort of player that could really, really pick up on that. And he could be a really, really good signing.
So he's 6'4", and I was reading a bit about him on Hearts Standard as well. This gives a bit of summation about him. Said a recruitment insider. I'll let you try and figure out who that might be. Graham Jones is my thoughts, but there we go. Hearts Standard spoke to, who has previously scouted Williams, said his data is very impressive, including the physical side, and that he is the exact profile that Hearts are looking for to lead the line. Big, good in the air, quick, and most importantly, a centre forward who plays high and central and gets in the box, always making himself a target. Pretty good finisher too. The Inverness Calderwood Thistle game was referenced, noting that Williams would have had a field day getting on the end of a number of the crosses that were sent in from wide. It just makes sense from everything I'm reading there, what he could add to this team.
See, it sounds almost like a little bit of a dig at Bassey, that, doesn't it? Like striker, like to stay in the box.
Yeah.
The only maybe worry about him is maybe the level, and I don't think he's played abroad before, so it's how he adapts. But it's a weird one. Like the first time I looked at it, I was kind of a bit like, like it's all right. But the more I've looked into it, the more excited I'm getting. I think he could really, he could cause a lot of problems. Looking forward to it.
This Thursday, we will be playing SK Rapid, or Rapid Vienna. 7:45 to Conference League playoff. Whoever wins gets European football in the Conference League. Now, we have scored 6 in our last game. However, anything we can do, apparently they can do better, because Rapid Vienna's most recent game was against GAK, or G-A-K, however you want to pronounce it, and they scored 8 goals. So, expect a 0-0 draw, obviously, this coming Thursday. I think there's every reason to believe this will be a bit of a goal fest. But at the same time, we did manage to limit a pretty up for it and hungry Benfica team to just the 1 goal when they played at Tynecastle. They didn't look like a team that are resting on their laurels. So who's to say we can't shut them out? How are you feeling about the game, Adam?
I'm really looking forward to it. I definitely feel positive. I mean, the one thing I'd say, I've been looking at their record the last couple of years. They got to the league phase of the Conference League last season, but then they only got 1 point. They lost 5 and drew 1. They beat a Hungarian team to get into they beat Dundee United as well on penalties.
Yeah.
So, and then the season before, which I didn't realise, they got to the quarterfinals of the Conference League. So they're obviously, that included beating Copenhagen 3-0. They beat Istanbul, Bazak, how do you say it? The team that we played from Istanbul. They beat them.
Yes.
So they've had, they've not got, I think the last couple of years, they've had a decent record, but their results would probably suggest they're not brilliant either. So I think I guess what I really want is I want a proper European fixture at Tynecastle where we're not already out. Like we don't lose it, and obviously the home leg's first, but I don't want us to be out after the first leg. I want us to finally get a European game at Tynecastle this season where we come away thinking we've actually got a chance to make it through. Because I think we've been a bit unlucky in the first couple of games to, by the time it came to Tynecastle, we were out. So this is a real chance to, give us an opportunity to get through. It's just really, really hard to predict how they're going to be. But, we're scoring a lot of goals. And I think there's reasons to be positive. I think the crowd are going to be really up for it. If I'm being honest right now, I'm not sure we're favourites for the. Maybe we might be favourites at Tiny. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're favourites to get through at the moment. But I definitely think we've got a chance, a much bigger chance than we had in the last two ties.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their squad, they've not really spent heavily this summer. What they have brought in, though, is a centre forward who's been scoring for fun. He scored 4 in that last game, Tony Adamson. He's a bit of a Danish league journeyman to an extent, but he has got experience and he is someone we'll certainly want to keep an eye on for this game. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of transfer activity, which does give me hope that it won't be too different a team to last season. As you say, they didn't exactly set the heather alight last season. So I do feel confident, I have to say. The results, looking at results lately, I guess, seeing results regardless of who they're against, when you're scoring 8 goals and so forth, it still makes you a bit concerned. John, for this game then, to give ourselves the best chance at conceding as few or hopefully 0 goals, who are you putting in that back line?
Honestly, no idea. I really I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what would work best. I mean, they're going to have some dangerous players. You could play Miller at left back again because he's been playing there, but he's not a strong position against better opposition. It might be a real struggle for him. Do you put one of McCart or Finlay to left back again? I don't think either of them have looked particularly comfortable when they've played there. I really don't know.
Is Milne going to be back? Do we know? Because that makes a big difference, I think, to the potential lineup.
Would you chuck him straight in?
I think if he's fit, you play him. It's
Depends if he's fully fit though. Yeah,
it's a fitness call, but I think if he's fit enough to play, I think he comes back in. I mean, I think he struggled a bit early in the games he played, but I don't think he's been at full fitness. And then it's got to be out on that right back. I think that one and McEntee, is definitely first choice centre back at the moment, right?
yeah.
Yeah, he's straight in for me. Harry Milne, I was just looking at the most recent thing that Wouter Franken said was prior to the Inverness game, where he said he's hopefully able to play again or train again for that game. He wasn't even featured on the bench, so I'm not sure. As you noted earlier, he wasn't really quite himself in the games previous anyway. So will he make this Thursday? I doubt it. I think what might be sensible is get him on the bench just to get him used to the games coming back as well, or even provide an option. But again, mentioned before that we've got this weekend off from competitive action anyway, so that provides an ideal opportunity to maybe get him back for either the second leg or against St Johnstone.
I feel like Finlay is someone who might struggle with his style of play as well. So he doesn't fill me with confidence in a European tie now. But what would you play McEntee and McCart potentially at centre back, and then you have Miller and Altona fullback.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, this is the back line we had for Benfica. We had Altona, McEntee, Finlay, and McCart. I have to say McCart did pretty well, didn't he, in that position against Benfica? So maybe you want to keep that. You're right, Finlay did struggle a bit, but I think having all three of them there, McEntee, by which I mean McEntee, Finlay, and McCart, then hopefully that gives him a bit more confidence and he's able to play more like Finlay that we saw, towards the start of last season. I don't feel, I feel he kind of tailed off a bit towards the latter half of last season as well.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, and I suppose Calvin Miller, he's not a left back. Having him at left back against a European team is probably, it's quite a big step. I guess what's positive is we do have that option, which the fact that we've seen how he's played the last couple of games at left back, and he's handled it well. At least we know we have an option. Wait, how many times has he played left back? Twice.
Yeah, twice now. I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a hard one to answer. I feel like what we're finding this season, like last season, I feel like for the most part we knew basically everyone that was going to start, whereas this season just feels a lot more unpredictable at the moment.
I suppose what he might do is if he does play Miller in the back line for the home game, that you might want to do that at the start of the game. Fight, really come out all guns blazing, attacking. Since if you're going to do it at any point, you want to do it at home, and when you're not chasing the game, maybe that's a bit a bit too gung ho. But I don't know. We'll see. John, thoughts on midfield then?
I think it'll be Spittle and Renault, but I think I'd probably go for Spittle and Magnuson. Not Spittle and Magnuson. Sorry, I prefer Renault and Magnuson personally, but I don't think they'll be. I think it'll be quite similar to the second leg against Benfica.
What about yourself, Adam?
Probably the same as John. I think it'll be Spittle and Renault. I don't think Magnuson and Renault did great together against Inverness. I think Magnuson struggled a little bit, so I think he'll bring Spittle back in. Probably, I personally would go for Magnuson and Renault as well. I would definitely be starting Kerjota. I know he didn't start against Benfica, but I'd give Kerjota the start as well.
Yeah, I think he's maybe done enough to earn that now. We're assuming again, of course, that Braga will be still with us at this point. If he isn't, though, I'm going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. Who are you starting as striker or strikers?
I think I'd chuck another player in midfield and just put Kabori up top by himself. Just let him run about like a headless chicken. But that can be a good thing, especially in I feel like a game where maybe the other team doesn't know what to expect from you so much. You just send him, just let him go free and run about. Really.
Yeah,
If he,
interesting
yeah,
actually. Interesting that Kabori never even got on the pitch against Inverness Caley Thistle. You would think that perhaps, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was really glad to see Wilson come on, but you would have thought maybe that Kabori would come on ahead of him. But anyway, yeah.
suppose there's a good chance to give Wilson a bit of game time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe had agreed, sort of beforehand that would be the plan. Give him a good amount of minutes.
fair.
I said Adam at the game actually. I think maybe I don't think we would have saw Braga come on necessarily if it hadn't been
Yeah,
for us going 2-1 down. I think the plan would have been just well, maybe Bassi was meant to last longer as well, but I would have said Wilson would have come on, and that would have been hopefully the only change we'd have had to make.
Yeah, I think the Braga McPake Spittle like triple sub. I don't think that would have happened if we'd been comfortably winning the game.
Who completes that attacking lineup for you then? Does Danda come into your thought process at all?
Yeah, Danda is nowhere near. I thought I've got youngsters ahead of Danda at the moment. It's really hard. It's got to be. I mean, we've just got to hope Braga's still here. I think Braga will still be here. I don't think we're going to get something done in the next couple of days. So I think Braga will definitely. I think Braga will start for sure.
Mhm. An interesting one for me, Adam. Guendouzi, did he do enough for you over both the Benfica and the Inverness Caley Thistle game to merit a start?
Yeah, I don't think he did great on Sunday. I think I actually really like him. Like I think he's
Yeah.
going to be a very exciting player. Um, I wouldn't be starting him on Thursday though, because I don't quite think he's done enough to earn that place. Yeah, I mean I think McPake's ahead of him at the moment. Wouldn't you say?
Well,
I
Guendouzi gets played sort of behind whoever the striker is, a bit more
yeah
central, but I just feel like he's obviously got quality. You've seen the touches he's got. He's got a good footballing brain by the looks of it. It's just I feel like until he sort of gets to that next level, he's probably better being that player you bring off the bench to, get the fans off
yeah
their seat or have a moment where like he'll dribble past a couple of players and set something up.
yeah. I think he'll do well for us. Like I wouldn't be starting him. I definitely a couple of weeks ago if you'd asked me I'd be saying yeah, but now I wouldn't start him on Thursday. No, I think other guys have shown a bit more than him.
I mean, that kind of raises a question. Could you play Spittle, Renault, and Magnuson on that team? We perhaps have Renault, Magnuson playing a bit further back, and then Spittle effectively playing where Guendouzi would be. Would that work for you?
I'd almost flip it and say I'd put Magnuson further forward, just
Mm-hmm.
purely off
Yeah,
last season. You saw a lot of the runs he made forward, a lot of the like attacking position he gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might not be as technically good as maybe like Spittle or Renault on the ball, but if you have him with Braga just in front of him, gives you a bit of an option, with a bit of aerial threat up there, maybe Lincoln doing a couple passes with Braga, making runs to make the space from. It could work. I don't know if we will, but I mean, I wouldn't be against it at all.
Right, prediction time then, I think. So I will start. Why not? Do we get a clean sheet? Oh, I don't know if we get a clean sheet, to be honest. But I think we'll be able to take a single goal lead over there. To me, a single goal just isn't enough for me. What's my head and my heart saying? Fine, so that I'll go 3-1 then. It would be. See, do you hear my dog there? She's agreeing with me. 3-1. And with that, I'll go, assuming Brad is playing, so he will score, as will Renault, and I think McEntee will pop up with another one. John, what are you thinking?
Um, my heart says 2-0. Does my head says 3-2. I think, like you said, I just can't see us keeping a clean sheet. And going off the amount of goals that both teams have scored, I reckon there could be quite a few in it. Goal scorers. No, I might go with McPake and McPake, Altona, and Kerjota.
All right, Adam, what are you thinking then?
I was going to say 3-1 as well, like you, so I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to go for Braga, Kerjota, and Miller. I think I'm going to be saying Miller every single week, to be honest. I actually was going to say Finley because I wanted to mix it up a bit, but I can't. I'll go for those three anyway. I'll leave Finley out of it.
What goal for Finlay? Ours or theirs?
Nah, I'll say that he doesn't score, but I was thinking that it's possible Finley could get a header, but I'm going to go Braga, Kerjota, and Miller. I'm going to go for like a screamer from Miller as well. Outside the box.
Before we wrap things up, I also just want to say fuck you to the Inverness Caley Thistle fans, by the way. Did you hear what they were singing about us?
Yeah.
It's proper like Celtic songbook stuff, and one of them taking a hip strip and we're waving. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, do you remember like we were helping them out financially? I think it was in the COVID season where you could buy virtual tickets for that. Fucking wish they'd gone under now.
They were surprisingly irritating for,
I know.
a championship team. It's like, when you score against like Hibs or Celtic or Rangers and the first thing you think is to sort of look over to their fans. I was getting like that against Inverness. I was like, what the hell is this? They were they were really quite surprisingly annoying for a championship team.
Sometimes I'll just put my hands up and say, you know what, a fan base has absolutely rattled me, and never thought
Inverness,
he was about. Yeah, I always thought we were quite cool with them, but no,
yeah.
fuck the lot of them. Hope they
Apart from
rot in the
Robbo.
championship. Apart from who? Robbo,
Robbo.
yeah. Is he still associated with them?
I think so.
Oh well, he can go do one as well if that's his fans. No,
No. We don't get to say
no,
that about
I
Robbo.
know, I know, I know. He's
Not even
he's a
as a joke. That's not allowed.
sorry, guys. I've let
Ah,
myself down. That's how rattled those wee cheaters made me. But yes, fair play to them. Not often I get that rattled by wee diddy teams, but there we go. Anyway, we will be back next week. We'll reflect, of course, on the Rapid Vienna game and anything else that comes up over the weekend. Maybe I'll have some transfers to talk about. Who knows? Until then, enjoy the game when it happens and enjoy the rest of the festival if you're going. Bye for now.